Okay, hello everybody. Our group will present the analysis procurement method in end process in Malaysia and also the type of tendering and contract use. Next slide. This is our group team. So each of us will be present different topic. We'll start with me. I will do the introduction. Sorry. Next slide. So our slide will contain introduction, background, and responsibility. Second, type of procurement and tender method we use. After that, we case study, pros and cons of procedure, include issue and solution. Last, a type of contract use and the conclusion. Next. So in Malaysia, we have two important boards, which is Board of Malaysia Architect, which is we call Lembaga Architect Malaysia, and then also Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia. Next. So next. Okay, definition of architect. So for the so who is architect? So building and supervise their construction. So the person who originates or realize an idea. So which is recognized by the Board of Architect Malaysia. Second, a person who holds the qualification Board of Architect Malaysia, and is called architect must register as an architect under the subsection 10(2). So an architect is someone who loves to design and is specifically trained and licensed to work on the planning and building. So architect role is a verified and professional who lead the process functional space from concept and design to a realization of those design. So with respect of the profession and legal act, no one can call themselves an architect unless they are registered, maintained by Board of Architect Malaysia. Next. Next. Can go to next slide.
Okay, so we're just bringing to the procurement and tender method. So what is procurement? Procurement and tender is normally a process purchasing goods or services. So procurement is the term which describes the activities undertaken by a client or employer who is seeking to bring about the construction or refurbish of a building. While a tender is a submission made by a prospective supplier in response to an invitation to tender. So they have two general type of tender, which is commonly used in Malaysia, which are open tender and also selective tender. So I'm going to present the standard tender procedure in our construction site. So normally there are four main type of the procurement methods. In Malaysia, normally we using the traditional, which is so-called conventional procurement method. And then for the contract, we are also using the fixed price or lump sum contract, which is common for architect contract before work. So for the traditional or conventional procurement, it is a separate between design and construction processes. So normally contractor is allowed with the responsibility for the coordination of subcontracting of design. While the main advantage of this is can establish parameters to look at when assessing the value for money of this type of procurement path. Also, they have also another disadvantage, which is the pro influence the contractor as the operational party has over the design, cost, and risk allocation is considered one of the main disadvantage of this approach. So by this project, design work can be done by architect and also the consultant team. For example, we are involving in the design development for submission, structural design, and also for the infra submission. And then for the conventional consultant, always need a third party of consultant. For example, need to handle this project, maybe including the ID. And then the design and build normally were handled by main contract. In this project, the main contract is Gajana Prospect Sanjang Berhad. So they will select their own subcon so to prepare the drawings and BQ for the submission. Okay, so the process of the tender method and the procurement normally is the first stage is normally the preparation for the work. So in Malaysia, there are only two is a common tender process, which is the open tender and also the selective tender. For the open tender, the main tenderer procedure employed by both the government and also the private sector. So everyone can be allowed to submit a tender to supply the goods or services required, while the selective tender is only allowed supplier to submit tender by invitation. Okay, so in the process of preparation work, preparation of drawing, documents, spec, and estimate cost, which is a need for the relevant consultant party to review. So for the conventional project, there is no need for the initial bid as the selected contractor is referred by a recommendation from the board of procurement. And then architect will issue them a letter of intention and also need a statement on the requirement and brief of the project. And then this process normally have to in a process of 2 weeks until 1 month to come out to allow the contractor to come out their design and costing. So in the stage of request for tender, this one normally will handle by QS, so-called the tender advertisement. This one, normally in this tender advertisement, the basic requirement should be appearing, which, for example, the title of the project, the class of contractor, location, date, time to obtain the tender document, and also the fees. And then extra information, for example, the government project advertised can be on the e-procurement site. For example, there is a website so-called My Procurement. Okay. During the tender opening and evaluation, QS will handle this process. So in order to preserve the integrity of the competitive process, it is imperative that the evaluation of proposal is undertaken objectively. So the tender usually have to evaluate against a predetermined set of criteria. If the documents are incomplete, the application will be rejected. And then the document sent to tender board for evaluation and approval normally need 1 until 3 months time. And then in the end, the QS will recommend for the which tenderer and who is his opinion is the most suitable to the undertaken to execute the project. So for the final stage, which is the award contract, an evaluation team will examine each tender received and make a recommendation as to which tender represents the best value for money. Once the contract has been awarded, both the successful and unsuccessful tenderer will be noticed.
Okay, hi, my name is Nick. So for the case study, we have selected a project which is Artim Monkiara, which is a mixed development consisting of service residence and also office units in Kuala Lumpur. Next, the project consists of three main towers with varying heights. The first tower consists of 20 stories of office suites and 20 stories of duplex office suites, clubhouse, and also a sky garden. The second tower, which is the tallest tower, 59 stories, has 24 stories of office suite, 12 stories duplex service residence, and 22 stories of service residence. Also a clubhouse and sky garden at the top. And tower 3 has 53 stories with 20 stories of office suites, 22 stories of duplex office suites, 10 stories duplex service residence, clubhouse, and sky garden. All these three towers are placed on top of a 9-story podium car park, which also includes the main lobby, a shopping mall, and also cafes and F&B outlets, as well as a recreational center. As mentioned earlier, the procurement method for this is selective tender. Next slide. The client, so here are the project details. The client is News Metro Properties in Berhad. The architect is Richard W. Z. Lee Architect. CNS engineer would be SNA Consult Sendirian Berhad. MNE will be done by MISET Engineering and Associates Sendirian Berhad. QS by TQS Consult. And as mentioned, also the main building contractor will be Kerjaya Prospects Sendirian Berhad. This project will run from 1st September 2016, and the proposed completion date is 31st October 2019. The main contract sum would be 338,796. That consists of, among others, plumbing and sanitary, which makes up 8.9 million, ACMV, which is 11.93, ENT 16.65, ELV 2.63 million, fire provision 3.8 million, lift works will be 15.2 million, swimming pool works will be 0.563 million, facade lighting will be 0.76 million. This does not include substructure contract sum, which is 95.5 million, and also landscape contract sum, which is 1.288 million. So that's our case study for this project.
Hi, I'm Yasir. Okay, for the issue raised in public and private procurement, we have four main issues. First is technical. Okay, under technical, we have my procurement. It is standard to perolehan to the new system, and then to contractor notify, and then after that we will go to contractor interest, and then last is travel to respective office to purchase tender. The second is tender delay. Tender delay minimum normally is 21 day, but usually it's will be more than that. And then the tender approval normally is 1 to 3 months. And then the third one is overlook dispensi. Okay, dispensi is first is lukisan Piawan by JKR Kuala Lumpur, mostly school, clinic, most Shariah court, and then to comply engineer instruction for any amendments, and then respective consultant assume to have all document checked those causing discrepancy. Example, bomber drawing checked by architect, and but IR the engineer will check in the engineering part, or bomber check it by MNE or electrical engineer. Okay, for the second issues is incompetence and fraud. First is favoritism. Normally tender process filter and hired by Jabatan Perolehan, and then contractor is hired, then incompetent contractor awarded based on the favoritism cause the problem. This is the unlawful discrimination. And then the second for the incompetence and fraud is blacklisted company. Okay, normally register solely based on black and white, and then validation is only CIDB and bank statement. And then the bank statement normally they edit, and this is the fraud. And the last one is register by company name, but the individual is not blacklisted, but the company is blacklisted, the one who run the company. Okay, the third one is time and budget. Okay, normally end of year tender bidding depend on the national budget, normally in November or December. And then late confirmation and layout endorsement, this is lukisan piawaian, usually will take 4 months. And then timeline extend to the other years, increment in the budget, material and goods price is increased. And then in-house project will take more longer time. Okay, for under professionalism is safety is compromised, Normally private sector conceptual, there is no detailed drawing, and then they will go straight to the tender done. Tender done by parts. Example is piling, assumed to save the work time lah, and then they go to piling work start, and then tender for other component contractor, and then high cost estimation for tender by QS to avoid the VO. And then there will be some amendment while undergoing construction. Sometimes the decision met on the site directly, and then engineer need to meet contractor requirement, follow the pricing given by the contractor. Then they will revise back again the detail for the piling and earthwork. And then for piling and brick sizes decrease, and then the safety is compromised lah. This is normal issues. Okay, we go to next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, for the solution, first the issue is timeline. Normally for the solution, what we are proposing and advice is planning ahead in the earlier stage of the process, provide true documentation, effective communication, and ethical management. The second one is budget bursts if there is any delay. Tendering is avoided in November and December for government project. This is standard in Malaysia lah, normally. Okay, the third one is addendum. Document received are certified by the contractor to avoid the excuse of missing the addendum. Okay, for item 5.2 is fraud. Fraud is first is fraud by contractor. Report to the JKR board, and the case will be extended to MOF, and then MOF and CIDB will blacklist the company. Sometimes local authority also blacklist company that they think that is fraud or got a problem. Okay, the second one is dishonest tendering officer. The solution that we are proposing is to strengthen the role of MACC and implement the a serious penalty to the officer. Okay, we go to next slide. Okay, tendering officer. Rotating turns to the officer to ensure that none has absolute power and control over the awarding the process and the contract of the tender. The second is outlining the needs of the procurement officer with high ethical standards and passing of the freedom of information laws. Declare as set by the public official with a certain rank. And then for second issue is a tendering type. The solution is only open tender is practiced to ensure a fair system for every contractor. But for private project, normally they go for a direct tender or selective tender. Okay. For the next solution is about under management is internal transparency. Having external auditor to monitor the occurring problem annually, and then the second is to create a true checklist for contractor punctualness and to track the record. Okay, the second is equal opportunity. The solution is to break down the big sum of project into smaller project to provide more opportunity to the small scale contractor F class lah. There is the G7 if I'm not mistaken, or G1, I'm sorry. Okay, next.
Okay, thank you, Rase. So based on the case study that was presented by Nick just now, the Mon Chiara, the type of contract used is the agreement and condition of PEM contract 2018 with quantities. So you can break down to the type of contract with quantities. The contract sum has derived from the PQ, and the form of contract is the PEM form of contract 2018, which is the latest PEM contract. Other than that, there's also other than the PEM contract, there's also the JKR contract, the CIDB contract, or even the AIA contract. And for the procurement method, is traditional and conventional procurement is used here, and the type of tender is the selective tender. The selective tender is only allowing qualified tenderer to submit a tender by individual, which they have a pre-selected list based on their previous record or project. Okay, next. So the main point of the conclusion for this assignment is that the architect's role as the team leader is crucial to steer the project in the right direction, and architect needs to fully understand the contract and procurement method, which is likely to affect the cost, quality, and time. And if you see the traditional and conventional procurement, it separates between design and construction development. The QS will usually recommend the tenderer that is suitable to take the project after the tender opening and evaluation. Other than that, the speculative risk for the procurement method would directly affect between the employee and contractor depending on the type of contract. Next is the issue that were raised in the public and private procurements, which includes technical incompetence, budget, professionalism, are dealt with a great solution that could help the procurement team. And the next is different procurement routes are appropriate to different project circumstances, and most commonly, more than one type might be suitable. And lastly, in the form of contract news is inappropriate, this can lead to substantial avoidable expense for the employer. Uh, uh, okay, that's all. Thank you.